Have you ever wondered why some countries seem so crowded while others have plenty of space? Today, we're going to talk about something really interesting. Half of all the people in the world live in just 6 countries. Can you believe that? Let's find out why these countries are so packed and what it means for the people who live there. Did you know that there are about 8 billion people on Earth? That's a lot of people. But here's the crazy part. About 4 billion of those people, which is half of everyone, live in only 6 countries. That means these 6 places are super crowded. Today, we're going to learn about these countries and why so many people live there. Nigeria. Let's start our trip in Africa with Nigeria. Nigeria is a big country, but not as big as you might think. Imagine if we put 3 US states together: Nevada, Utah, and California. That's about how big Nigeria is. But here's the crazy part. Nigeria has way more people than those 3 states combined. Nigeria has about 223 million people living there. That's like having 5 times more people than those 3 US states we talked about earlier. And guess what? The number of people in Nigeria is growing fast. Every year, more and more babies are born in Nigeria. Why are there so many people in Nigeria? Well, one big reason is that families in Nigeria often have lots of kids. In many parts of the world, families might have 2 or 3 kids. But in Nigeria, it's common for families to have 5 or more children. There are a few reasons why Nigerian families are so big. First, many people in Nigeria think having a big family is a good thing. It's part of their culture. Also, many people in Nigeria get married and start having babies when they're pretty young. Lastly, some people in Nigeria don't know much about family planning, which means they might not know how to choose how many kids they want to have. What does this mean for Nigeria's future? Well, if things keep going the way they are, Nigeria might become the 3rd most populated country in the whole world by 2050. That's only about 25 years from now. Some people are worried that Nigeria might have too many people and not enough food, water, and jobs for everyone. It's a big challenge that Nigeria will have to face in the coming years. Pakistan. Now, let's fly over to Asia and visit Pakistan. Pakistan is a bit smaller than Nigeria, but it has even more people. Can you believe that? Pakistan has about 240 million people living there. That's like having almost 2 times as many people as France and the United Kingdom put together. Pakistan's population has been growing fast. In just the last 25 years, the number of people in Pakistan has grown by more than half. That's a lot of new people in a short time. Why does Pakistan have so many people? Well, like in Nigeria, families in Pakistan often have lots of kids. In most parts of the world, families might have 2 or 3 kids. But in Pakistan, families often have 3 or 4 kids, sometimes even more. There are a few reasons why Pakistani families are so big. Some people in Pakistan don't know much about family planning, which means they might not know how to choose how many kids they want to have. Also, in some parts of Pakistan, people believe that having a big family is a good thing. Another interesting thing about Pakistan is that more babies are being born than people are dying. This means the population keeps growing and growing. For every 1,000 people in Pakistan, about 28 babies are born each year, but only about 7 people die. So you can see how the number of people keeps getting bigger. What does this mean for Pakistan? Well, having so many people can cause some problems. Schools are getting crowded, and it's hard for doctors to take care of everyone. Some experts think that by 2050, Pakistan might have twice as many people as it does now. That's a lot of people to take care of. Pakistan will need to build more schools, hospitals, and homes to make sure everyone has what they need. Indonesia. Let's keep traveling and head to Indonesia. Indonesia is a country made up of thousands of islands in Southeast Asia. It's much bigger than Nigeria and Pakistan, but it still has a lot of people, about 277 million. Indonesia is interesting because it's not growing as fast as Nigeria and Pakistan. The number of babies being born in Indonesia is about the same as in many other countries around the world. But Indonesia still has a huge population. Why? Well, it's because Indonesia used to have a lot more babies being born in the past. Even though that's not happening as much now, all those babies from before have grown up and had their own families. Even though Indonesia is bigger than the countries we've talked about so far, it still has some big problems because of its large population. In the big cities, there are so many people that it's hard to get around. The buses and trains are always super crowded. Also, Indonesia is having trouble making sure everyone has enough food and clean water. United States. Now let's fly across the ocean to the United States. The US is the third most populated country in the world, with about 340 million people. That's a lot of people. But here's something interesting. The US is much bigger than the countries we've talked about so far. The US is so big that even though it has more people than Indonesia, Pakistan, and Nigeria, it doesn't feel as crowded. Imagine if you took all the people in the US and spread them out evenly across the country. You'd have about 96 people for every square mile. But if you did the same thing in Pakistan, you'd have 808 people in that same space. So why does the US have so many people? There are two main reasons. First, lots of people from other countries move to the US. They come looking for jobs, safety, or a new life. Second, families in the US used to have lots of kids, just like in Nigeria and Pakistan. But that's changed over time. Now, most families in the US have 1 or 2 kids. Even though US families are smaller now, the population is still growing. Experts think that by 2050, there might be 388 million people living in the US. That's a lot of new people. China. Our next stop is China, the country with the second largest population in the world. China has a whopping 1.4 billion people. That's more than 4 times as many people as the United States, even though China and the US are about the same size. But here's something really interesting about China. Its population is getting smaller. For the first time in a long time, the number of people in China went down last year. It only went down by a little bit. But for a country with so many people, that's a big deal. So why did China get so populated in the first place? Well, after World War II, the Chinese government wanted the country to grow. They thought having more people would make China stronger and richer. So they encouraged families to have lots of kids. By 1970, the average family in China had 6 kids. But then the government realized there were too many people. They were worried there wouldn't be enough food and jobs for everyone. So in 1980, they made a rule that families could only have 1 child. This rule lasted until 2016. Now, even though families in China can have more kids, many people are choosing to have small families. It costs a lot of money to raise kids, and many people in China are focused on their jobs. So now, instead of growing, China's population is starting to get smaller. India. Our last stop is India, the country with the most people in the whole world. India has about 1.4 billion people, just a little bit more than China. That means almost 1 out of every 5 people in the world lives in India. Unlike China, India's population is still growing. Every year, about 11.5 million new people are added to India's population. That's like adding a whole new New York City every year. Why does India have so many people? Well, like many of the other countries we talked about, families in India used to have lots of kids. Between 1880 and 1975, the average family in India had 5 or 6 kids. That number has gone down over time, but there are still lots of young people in India. Half of the people in India are younger than 25 years old. Because there are so many young people in India, experts think the population will keep growing for a while. They predict that India's population won't stop growing until 2065. That's still more than 40 years away. Having so many people can be challenging for India. They need to make sure there are enough schools, hospitals, and jobs for everyone. But many people also see India's young population as a good thing. All these young people could help make India's economy stronger in the future. So now you know about the 6 most crowded countries in the world. Amazingly, half of all the people on Earth live in just these 6 places, isn't it? Having so many people in one place can cause some problems, like not having enough food, water, or houses for everyone. But it can also be exciting because there are lots of different people and ideas all in one place. What do you think it would be like to live in one of these crowded countries? Would you like it, or would you prefer to live somewhere with fewer people? Thanks for watching our video about the world's most crowded countries. If you enjoyed learning about this, please give our video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos about the world we live in. See you next time.